The metal doors slid open with a soft hiss. Commander Allison Wright stepped into the meeting chamber, her back straight and her face calm. This was humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council, and she knew every word, every gesture would be judged. Behind her walked Dr. Eric Miller and Lieutenant Frank Carter, both trying to match her confident stride. The chamber was huge, with a high ceiling that curved like the inside of an egg. Light came from everywhere and nowhere at once. In the center stood a round table with 7 chairs already filled by beings that looked nothing like humans. "Approach, representatives of Earth," said a tall, thin alien with skin that shimmered blue in the light. Its voice somehow reached their ears without seeming to travel through the air. Allison moved forward, fighting the urge to stare at the different aliens. One looked like a large insect with multiple eyes. Another reminded her of a bear, but with 6 limbs and silver fur. The others were equally strange. One seemed made of crystal. One was constantly shifting shape. One was almost human except for its green skin and 4 arms, and the last was hidden inside a floating tank of bubbling liquid. "I am Commander Allison Wright of Earth," she said. "With me are Dr. Eric Miller and Lieutenant Frank Carter. We bring greetings from our world." The blue alien nodded. "I am Coordinator Genta of the Zorans. We welcome you, young ones, to the greater community of spacefaring peoples." Allison had been briefed about this. The council species considered themselves ancient, with histories spanning millions of years. They viewed humans as children, newly arrived on the galactic stage. "We are honored to be welcomed," she replied. "Indeed," said the insect-like being. "It is always fascinating to observe fledgling species take their first steps beyond their home worlds. Your kind has shown remarkable progress for a civilization barely 10,000 years old." Dr. Miller shifted beside her. Allison knew he was thinking about the Mars discovery. 6 months ago, a mining team had found something impossible. A sealed chamber with technology that was clearly made by human hands, but dating back over 500,000 years. The government had kept it secret, even from most of Earth's leaders. "We have much to learn from your ancient civilizations," Allison said, carefully. The bear-like alien made a sound like rocks grinding together, possibly laughter. "The Zorans consider themselves ancient, but even they are young compared to the Valdari or my people, the Grun. We were traveling between stars when your ancestors were still learning to use fire." Lieutenant Carter smiled politely, though Allison could see tension in his jaw. Carter had studied forgotten languages and myths from Earth's past. He believed many ancient stories contained hidden truths about humanity's history. "Perhaps we are quicker learners than you expect," Carter said. The green 4-armed alien leaned forward. "We have observed your development, from simple stone tools to space travel in less than 10,000 years. A remarkable pace, if somewhat concerning." "Concerning?" Allison asked. "Growth without proper guidance can lead to instability," said the crystal being, its voice ringing like chimes. "Young species often destroy themselves before reaching maturity." The alien in the tank bubbled intensely, and a mechanical voice translated, "The humans show concerning parallels to the Valdari. Early development pattern, aggressive expansion, resource consumption, hierarchical power structures." Allison noticed one seat at the table was empty. "I thought there were 7 council species." "The Valdari representative will join us tomorrow," said Genta. "They are particular about first meetings with new species." The room suddenly felt colder. The briefing materials had mentioned little about the Valdari, only that they were the most secretive of the council races. "While we wait," continued Genta, "we should discuss Earth's provisional status. As newcomers, you will be granted limited access to council space and technology. After a probationary period of approximately 50 Earth years, your status may be reconsidered." 50 years, Carter said, forgetting protocol. "A mere moment in galactic terms," the bear-like Grun rumbled. "Some species wait centuries for full recognition." Allison kept her face neutral, though she shared Carter's frustration. Earth needed allies and technology now, not decades in the future. Their sun was showing early signs of instability, and scientists predicted they had less than a century before Earth would become uninhabitable. "We look forward to proving ourselves worthy partners," she said diplomatically. After the meeting, Allison and her team were shown to their quarters aboard the massive council station. The rooms were comfortable but clearly designed by beings with different ideas about comfort. "Can we talk freely?" Miller asked quietly. Allison nodded. Their security team had swept the rooms and activated counter-surveillance devices. "They treat us like children," Carter said, finally letting his frustration show. "Because they think we are," Miller replied. He pulled out a small device and projected an image in the air. A metal panel covered with strange symbols. "This is from the Mars site. The symbols are an early form of Sanskrit, but they're over 500,000 years old. That's impossible according to our current understanding of human history." "Unless our history is wrong," Allison said. "I've been comparing these symbols to other ancient languages," Carter added. "There are similarities with early Sumerian, Egyptian hieroglyphics, even Mayan writing. It's as if all Earth languages evolved from this single source." "The Council doesn't know about this?" Allison asked. Miller shook his head. "No one does except our team and a handful of scientists on Mars and Earth. But I've been watching their reactions carefully. The way they talk about us. It's not just condescension, there's something else. Especially when they mentioned the Valdari." "I noticed that too," Allison said. When the Valdari were mentioned, the room felt tense. Her secure communication device beeped. It was a message from Earth, from Dr. Kate Simmons at the Mars site. "They've managed to activate one of the devices we found," Allison read aloud. "It's some kind of record keeper, and it contains information that changes everything we thought we knew about human history." Carter leaned forward. "What does it say?" "Not much in the message. Just that we need to be extremely careful around the Council, especially the Valdari, and that we should look for any mention of something called the First Awakening." The three of them fell silent, the weight of what they were discovering pressing down on them. Outside their window, the vast blackness of space sparkled with distant stars. Somewhere out there were answers about humanity's true past, a past that might be far older and more complex than anyone had ever imagined. "Whatever we were," Allison said finally, "I think we're about to find out, and I have a feeling the Council already knows more than they're telling us." Miller nodded. "The question is, why would they hide our own history from us? And what happens," Carter added, "when we finally remember who we really are?" 6 months earlier, the red dust of Mars swirled around Dr. Kate Simmons as she stood at the edge of the dig site. She pulled her protective mask tighter and squinted through her goggles. The mining operation in Valles Marineris had stumbled onto something that shouldn't exist. "Are you sure about these readings?" she asked the man beside her. Greg Porter, the mining team leader, nodded. "The scanner doesn't lie. Whatever's down there is made of materials we can't identify, and it's hollow." Kate checked her tablet again. The object was buried under 50 meters of Martian rock and soil. By all rights, nothing man-made should be there. Humans had only started sending unmanned missions to Mars in the late 20th century, and the first colony was established just 30 years ago. "Let's keep digging," she said, "but slowly. I want everything documented." 3 days later, they found a door. Not a natural formation, but a perfectly smooth metal rectangle set into the rock with no visible handle or control panel. Around its edges were strange symbols that reminded Kate of ancient Sanskrit, but different in key ways. "How is this possible?" Greg whispered, running his gloved hand over the symbols. "It's not," Kate said. "At least not according to any version of history I know." It took another week to figure out how to open the door. The breakthrough came when Kate realized the symbols weren't decorative, they were instructions. The door wasn't meant to keep people out. It was meant to be found eventually by the right people. When the heavy door finally slid open, they found a chamber about the size of a small apartment. The air inside was stale but breathable. Most surprising of all, the lights came on automatically, glowing from crystal-like structures embedded in the walls. "This place has been waiting for us," Kate said, her voice full of wonder. The chamber contained strange devices made of materials that looked like a mix of metal, crystal, and something organic. In the center stood what appeared to be a control panel with a chair designed for human proportions. Kate sent data back to Earth, where Professor Paul Hayes had been working on a parallel discovery. Off the coast of Japan, underwater structures previously thought to be natural formations had revealed similar symbols. Paul had been studying them for months, convinced they were evidence of an advanced prehistoric human civilization. "The symbols match," Paul told Kate over their secure channel. "What you found on Mars and what we found underwater, they're from the same civilization." "But Kate, if these dating methods are correct, they're over 500,000 years old." "That's impossible," Kate said. "Homo sapiens as a species has only existed for about 300,000 years. Unless everything we thought we knew about human evolution is wrong," Paul replied. Over the next few months, Kate and her small team worked in complete secrecy. They discovered that one of the devices in the chamber was a data storage system made of crystalline materials far beyond current human technology. With careful study, they began to unlock its secrets. "It's some kind of historical record," Kate explained to Commander Wright during their secure call. "But it's not just text or images. When activated, it creates a kind of thought stream. It puts information directly into your mind." "Is it safe?" Allison asked from the council station. "We think so. The interface seems designed specifically for human brains. Greg and I have both used it. The information is overwhelming. It's going to take time to process it all. But what we've learned already is incredible." "Tell me," Allison said. Kate took a deep breath. "According to these records, humans didn't evolve on Earth. At least, not originally. We were already an advanced spacefaring civilization 500,000 years ago. We had colonies on Mars, Europa, and throughout the solar system. We'd even begun to explore nearby star systems." "That contradicts everything we know about human history," Allison said. "Exactly. Because something happened that made us start over. There was a war, a terrible war with another species. The records call them the Shadow Eaters. From the descriptions and images, I think they might be the Valdari." Allison felt a chill run down her spine. "The Valdari are part of the Galactic Council." "Yes, and there's more. According to this record, humans weren't just another species in the galaxy. We were among the first, possibly the very first, to achieve interstellar travel. The record suggests we even helped other species develop, including some that might be on the Council now." "Why would we hide this? Why erase our own history?" Allison asked. "The war with the Valdari nearly destroyed us. The records are fragmented, but it seems our ancestors made a desperate choice. Rather than face extinction, they decided to hide. They deliberately regressed human civilization, erased all evidence of our advanced technology, and retreated to Earth to live as primitive beings. They hid caches of technology throughout the solar system, meant to be found when we naturally redeveloped space travel." The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't new to the galactic stage. They were returning after a long absence. "Does this record say anything about something called the First Awakening?" Allison asked. Kate looked surprised. "Yes. It describes it as the moment when humans would rediscover their true heritage and history. It was meant to happen gradually over generations, but the Valdari threat accelerated the timeline. How did you know about that term?" "Dr. Simmons," Allison said formally, "I need you to send everything you have through our secure channel. And I mean everything. We're meeting with the full council tomorrow, including the Valdari representative." "Be careful," Kate warned. "If the Valdari are who we think they are, they may recognize something in you, in your DNA or your technology. The record says they hunted us nearly to extinction once before. And now we're walking right into their chamber," Allison said grimly. After ending the call, Allison shared everything with Miller and Carter. They stayed up all night, going through the data from Mars and the underwater site in Japan. "It's all connected," Carter said. pointing to similar symbols found in ancient sites around Earth: the pyramids, Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe. These weren't primitive people fumbling toward understanding. These were the descendants of a spacefaring civilization, leaving breadcrumbs for their future selves to follow. And tomorrow, Miller added, we meet the species that nearly wiped us out, a species that might not be happy to see us returning to the stars. Allison looked out at the vast council station. Somewhere aboard was the Valdari representative, perhaps, already aware of who and what humans truly were. We need a plan, she said. If the Valdari realize we're starting to remember our past, they might try to finish what they started 500,000 years ago. Allison, Miller, and Carter entered the council chamber the next day with hidden fears, but determined faces. Today, all 7 council species would be present, including the mysterious Valdari. The first 6 council members took their places. The blue-skinned Zorans, the insect-like Trellin, the 6-limbed Grun, the crystalline Vox, the shape-shifting Morphs, and the liquid-dwelling Aquari in their bubbling tanks. 1 seat remained empty. The Valdari representative will join shortly, announced Genta, the Zoran coordinator. They requested time to review the data on your species. A chill ran down Allison's spine. What exactly were the Valdari looking for in humanity's records? The door at the far end of the chamber slid open. The figure that entered moved with unnatural grace, as if gravity affected it differently. It wore a dark cloak that seemed to absorb light, with a hood covering most of its face. What little Allison could see looked almost like smoke given solid form. Representative Null of the Valdari, announced Genta, final member of the Galactic Council. The Valdari took its seat without speaking, though its face remained mostly hidden. Allison felt its eyes on her team, studying them with unusual intensity. Now that we are all present, continued Genta, we can proceed with the formal application of Earth for provisional membership in the galactic community. As Genta spoke about procedures and protocols, Allison noticed the Valdari representative tilting its head slightly, as if listening to something no one else could hear. Before we continue, the Valdari suddenly said, its voice surprisingly musical, I have questions for the humans. The other council members seemed surprised. It was apparently unusual for the Valdari to speak so early in proceedings. Of course, Allison replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Your species has progressed unusually quickly from primitive technology to space travel, said the Valdari. How do you explain this rapid development? Humans are naturally curious and adaptive, Allison answered carefully. The Valdari leaned forward slightly. Have you discovered any unusual artifacts during your expansion into your solar system? Allison felt Miller tense beside her. They had agreed to keep the Mars discovery secret until they better understood its implications. We found various interesting geological formations, she said, but nothing of particular note. The Valdari remained still for a long moment. Then it reached up and lowered its hood slightly. Its face was hard to focus on, like looking at smoke in dim light. But its eyes were clear, black with small white pupils that seemed to see right through Allison's careful lie. Interesting, it said finally. I would very much like to visit your Mars colony. I understand you have extensive mining operations there. Meanwhile, millions of kilometers away, Captain Scott Kelly stood on the bridge of the Earth defense vessel Sentinel, which patrolled the outer edges of the solar system. His lieutenant approached with a concerned look. Captain, we're picking up unusual readings near Neptune, she said. 3 vessels just appeared out of nowhere. They don't match any known council ship designs. Scott studied the sensor readings. Have they spotted us? I don't think so. We're running silent and they seem focused on something else. But sir, they're giving off energy signatures similar to that strange artifact the scientific team found on Mars. Scott frowned. Send this data directly to Commander Wright on the council station. Encrypted channel only. Back in the council chamber, Allison felt her secure communicator vibrate against her wrist. She couldn't check it during the meeting, but the special pattern told her it was urgent. The Valdari continued its questioning, each query seeming more pointed than the last. Your species has many myths of gods who came from the sky. What do your scholars make of these stories? Lieutenant Carter answered this time. Many ancient cultures looked to the stars and imagined greater beings living there. It's a common pattern in developing societies. Indeed, said the Valdari, and yet, some of your oldest myths contain surprising accuracies about the wider galaxy. Curious, for a species that supposedly never left its planet until recently. The tension in the room grew. The other council members were exchanging glances, clearly surprised by the Valdari's unusual interest in human mythology. If I may, interrupted the bear-like Grun, we should return to the formal procedures. The humans have not come to discuss their folklore. All information is relevant when welcoming a new species, the Valdari replied smoothly, especially one with such interesting potential. When the meeting finally ended, Allison and her team returned to their quarters. As soon as the security sweeps confirmed they could speak freely, Allison checked the message from Captain Kelly. Unknown ships near Neptune, she told the others, showing them the sensor readings. And look at these energy signatures. Miller studied the data. They match the technology from the Mars site. These must be Valdari ships, but they're not using standard council technology. They're looking for something, Carter said, just like the Valdari representative was fishing for information about artifacts. They know, Allison said quietly. Somehow they know we've found the chamber on Mars. Her secure communicator beeped again, this time with a message from Dr. Simmons on Mars. The mining facility just received a formal request for a visit from the Galactic Council, Kate reported. Specifically, they want to inspect the area where we found the chamber. Allison, we haven't told anyone the exact location. How could they know? The Valdari must have some way of detecting their old enemy's technology, Miller suggested. Maybe that's why they've stayed so distant from Earth until now. They were monitoring us, waiting to see if we'd discover our past. And now that we have, they're closing in, Allison said grimly. Captain Kelly reports unknown ships near Neptune. Dr. Simmons says the Council, almost certainly the Valdari, want to inspect the Mars site, and the Valdari representative can't stop asking about ancient artifacts. What do we do? Asked Carter. Allison thought for a moment. We need to learn more about the war our ancestors fought. The Mars records mentioned other caches of technology hidden throughout the solar system. If the Valdari are preparing for conflict, we need to find those caches before they do. I've been studying the star maps from the Mars data, Miller said. There are markings that could indicate locations in the asteroid belt and the Kuiper belt. We need to split up, Allison decided. I'll stay here and keep the Council, especially the Valdari, distracted. Miller, you contact Earth and have them send a team to the Kuiper belt location. Carter, you go to Mars and help Dr. Simmons secure that site. We need to move everything important before the Valdari inspection team arrives. And what about Captain Kelly and the unknown ships? Carter asked. Tell him to keep his distance but monitor them closely, Allison said. If those are Valdari ships operating outside Council knowledge, we need to know what they're doing. They prepared to put their plan in motion. Allison looked out at the stars. Somewhere in humanity's forgotten past, their ancestors had sailed those same stars, built great technologies, and even helped younger species evolve. Then they had fought a terrible war against the Valdari, a war they had apparently won, but at such cost that they chose to erase their own civilization rather than continue the conflict. Why did our ancestors fear them so much? She wondered aloud. What kind of enemy makes you willing to forget everything you were? She had a feeling they were about to find out. Dr. Kate Simmons worked quickly, transferring the most important artifacts from the Mars chamber to a hidden storage area. Lieutenant Carter had arrived from the Council station the day before and was helping her team prepare for the Valdari inspection. They'll be here tomorrow, Carter said, carefully packing a crystalline data storage device. Do you think we can hide everything by then? Kate shook her head. Not everything. The chamber itself is too big to hide. But we've removed the most important technology and replaced it with ordinary items that look similar. With luck, they won't notice the difference. And if they do? Carter asked. Kate didn't answer. They both knew what was at stake. Meanwhile, in the distant Kuiper belt, Chief Engineer Olivia Martinez guided her small ship toward coordinates provided by Dr. Miller. The vast, cold region beyond Neptune was mostly empty space with scattered, icy objects. Not many humans ventured this far from Earth. "Are you sure about these coordinates?" asked her pilot. "There's nothing here." "That's the point," Olivia replied. "If you wanted to hide something important, you'd put it somewhere no one would look." Their sensors suddenly picked up a small, irregular object about 2 kilometers across. From a distance, it looked like any other chunk of ice and rock in the Kuiper Belt. "That's it," Olivia said. "Take us closer, but slowly." As they approached, their instruments detected a faint energy signature coming from within the object. It wasn't natural. Someone had put something inside this unremarkable space rock, something that had remained powered and waiting for 500,000 years. Olivia suited up for a spacewalk. With specialized tools, she carefully cut into the surface of the object. After several hours of drilling, she broke through into a hollow interior space. "I'm in," she reported to her team. There's a facility in here. It looks like some kind of manufacturing station, and it's perfectly preserved." Inside the hollow asteroid was a complex of rooms filled with machinery, unlike anything humans currently used. Everything was dark and dormant, but still intact after countless millennia. Olivia found what looked like a control panel. Following instructions from the Mars data, she placed her hand on a smooth surface. Nothing happened at first. Then a soft light began to glow beneath her palm. The entire facility hummed to life, machines awakening from their long sleep. A holographic display appeared in front of her, showing strange symbols that slowly transformed into modern English before her eyes. The system was adapting to her. "It's working," she whispered in awe. "The facility is responding to my DNA, just like the Mars record said it would." The display showed manufacturing schematics for devices Olivia had never seen before. As she studied them, she realized they were defensive systems, shields and weapons designed specifically to counter Valdari technology. "This isn't just any facility," she reported to her team. "It's an automated defense manufacturing station. Our ancestors hid it here as a contingency plan in case the Valdari ever returned." Back on the council station, Commander Wright was doing her best to keep the Valdari representative distracted. She had requested a series of meetings about Earth's potential contributions to the galactic community, filling their days with discussions of trade, cultural exchange, and scientific cooperation. During one such meeting, the Valdari suddenly changed the subject. "Tell me, Commander, what do you know of the concept of genetic memory?" The question caught Allison off guard. "It's a theoretical concept, the idea that memories or knowledge might be passed down through DNA." The Valdari nodded. "Many species explore this concept, but few achieve it. The Zorans tried for millennia without success. The Grun believe it to be impossible." It paused. "And yet some species are born with instinctive knowledge they should not possess." "That sounds more like evolution than memory," Allison suggested carefully. Perhaps some memories are too important to lose even when a civilization falls." The Valdari tilted its smoky head. "Have you ever felt a connection to places you've never been, Commander? Recognize things you've never seen?" Before Allison could answer, her secure communicator vibrated. 3 short pulses. An emergency signal. "Excuse me," she said, rising from her seat. "I must attend to an urgent matter." The Valdari watched her go with those unsettling white pupils. "Of course, Commander. We have time. More time than you might think." In her quarters, Allison received the emergency transmission from Mars. Dr. Simmons's face looked pale and worried on the screen. "The Valdari inspection team arrived early," Kate said. "They went straight to the chamber without following any of the planned tour routes. It's like they knew exactly where to go." "Did they discover what we removed?" Allison asked. "No, but they took samples from the walls and floor. They're analyzing the molecular structure of everything." And Allison, Kate, lowered her voice. "They brought some kind of device that's scanning for genetic material. They're specifically looking for ancient human DNA." Allison felt cold. "They know. They've always known." They're not just guessing that we've found something. They've been watching us all along, waiting for us to rediscover our past. Just then, another call came in from Captain Kelly aboard the Sentinel. Commander, those unknown ships near Neptune, they've changed course. They're heading directly for a specific location in the Kuiper Belt, exactly where we sent Chief Engineer Martinez. Allison's mind raced. Captain, intercept those ships if you can. Buy Martinez some time. She may have found something important. Understood. But Commander, these ships are using technology we've never seen before. They're faster than anything in our fleet. As Allison coordinated the desperate efforts to protect both the Mars site and the Kuiper Belt facility, Professor Hayes called in from Earth with another discovery. I've been analyzing those underwater ruins, he said, and I found something extraordinary in the genetic samples we collected. Certain human bloodlines show unusual markers that match the activation panels on the ancient technology. What are you saying? Allison asked. I'm saying our ancestors didn't just hide their technology. They hid themselves. They preserved certain genetic lineages through thousands of generations, people who could activate the old systems if needed. Hayes paused. People like you, Allison, and Miller, and Martinez. You're not just random humans. You're the designated inheritors chosen 500,000 years ago to remember when the time was right. Allison stared at her hands. Was that why certain aspects of the alien technology felt strangely familiar to her? Why she sometimes knew how to operate devices she'd never seen before? The Valdari know this, she realized aloud. That's why they're suddenly so interested in us. They can sense that the remembering has begun. As if summoned by her, words and alerts sounded throughout the council station. Allison rushed to a viewing port and saw something impossible. A massive fleet of ships had appeared out of nowhere surrounding the station. They were unlike the elegant vessels of the council species. These were dark, angular ships that seemed to bend the light around them. A station-wide announcement followed in the melodic voice of the Valdari representative. Attention all species. This station is now under Valdari protection. A potential threat has been identified. All human representatives are to be confined to their quarters immediately. The ancient war, dormant for 500,000 years, was beginning again. And humanity wasn't ready. Allison stood at the window of her locked quarters, watching the Valdari ships surround the council station. Their dark shapes looked like holes cut into the starry background. Her mind raced, searching for a way out of this trap. Her secure communicator still worked. She contacted Miller, who had returned to Earth to coordinate with Professor Hayes. The Valdari have locked down the station, she told him. They're calling us a threat. We need to move faster. We're working on it, Miller replied. Hayes has identified more people with the special genetic markers. We're sending them to activate other hidden facilities. What about Martinez in the Kuiper Belt? She's got the manufacturing station running. It's building defensive systems right now. But the Valdari ships are closing in on her position. Allison clenched her fist. And Captain Kelly? The Sentinel is trying to hold them off, but they're outmatched. Allison, we need more time. A soft chime sounded at her door. Someone was outside. When the door slid open, Allison was surprised to see Genta, the blue-skinned Zoran coordinator. We don't have much time, Genta said quietly, glancing down the corridor. The Valdari are distracted with their fleet movements. Come with me. Why are you helping me? Allison asked as they moved quickly through hidden service passages of the station. Because the Galactic Council was built on lies, Genta replied. Some of us have suspected it for centuries. The Valdari have always controlled too much, known too much. They claim to be one of the oldest species, but their records are incomplete. They reached a small chamber with viewing screens showing different parts of the station. Other council representatives were there. The insect-like Trellin, the crystalline Vox, and the shape-shifting Morph. We've been searching the hidden archives, the Trellin said, its multiple eyes blinking rapidly, looking for the truth about the council's formation. What we found confirms what the Valdari feared. Humanity was there at the beginning. Not just at the beginning, the crystalline Vox chimed. Before the beginning, the first records of the Galactic Council show humans as founders, not members. They helped many of our species evolve and develop, including the Valdari, the morph added, its form rippling with emotion. But something went wrong. The Valdari turned against their creators. Meanwhile, in the Kuiper Belt, Olivia Martinez watched as the first defensive drones rolled off the production line. They were small spherical devices that glowed with a soft blue light. "Will they be enough?" her pilot asked, eyeing the approaching Valdari ships on their scanner. "They don't need to win," Olivia said. "They just need to buy us time to activate more facilities." She pressed her hand to the control panel again. Launch sequence initiated, targeting all Valdari vessels. The drones shot from the asteroid base, streaking toward the enemy ships. They were vastly outnumbered, but as they approached the Valdari fleet, they began to multiply, each one splitting into dozens of identical copies. On Mars, Kate Simmons and Carter watched in horror as Valdari troops seized the ancient chamber. Their disguises hadn't worked. The Valdari knew exactly what they were looking for. "We need to get to the secondary site," Kate whispered as they hid in a storage room. "The chamber was just a library. The real technology is hidden in Olympus Mons." They slipped away while the Valdari were distracted, taking a small rover across the Martian surface toward the massive volcano. Using the maps from the Mars chamber, they found a hidden entrance near the base of the mountain. Inside was a vast hangar containing a single ship, sleek, silver, and unlike any human vessel. According to the records, it was a command ship from the ancient human fleet preserved for 500,000 years. "Can we fly this?" Carter wondered, running his hand along the smooth hull. "We don't need to," Kate said. "It can fly itself, we just need to wake it up." She placed her palm on what looked like an entry panel. The ship hummed to life, responding to her genetic signature. Back on the council station, Allison was shown ancient records that had been hidden from most of the council species. They revealed a history very different from what was officially taught. Humans created the Galactic Council as a peaceful alliance, Genta explained. But the Valdari wanted more. They believed they could absorb the powers of other species by consuming their essence, literally eating their life force. They turned on humanity first, seeing you as the most powerful prey. The war was devastating, the Trellin added. The Valdari nearly won, but in a final desperate move, humanity defeated them, then made an extraordinary sacrifice. Instead of destroying the Valdari completely, they chose mercy. They used their most advanced technology to lock away their own civilization, regressing to primitive states on Earth. "Why would they do that?" Allison asked. "To break the cycle of vengeance," the Vox chimed. "Your ancestors believed that starting over was the only way to escape endless war. They left behind the technology for you to find when you were ready, along with genetic keys in certain bloodlines." "And the Valdari?" Allison asked. "Were allowed to join the council under restrictions," the morph said. "But they never forgot. They've been watching Earth for millennia, terrified of the day humans would remember who they really were." Just then, alarms blared throughout the station. On the screens, they saw Valdari troops moving toward their location. "They've found us," Genta said. At that same moment in the Kuiper Belt, Olivia's drones engaged the Valdari ships. Though outnumbered, the ancient human technology was devastating against the Valdari fleet. The small drones bypassed their shields, as if they weren't there, and disabled ship after ship. On Mars, the ancient command ship rose from Olympus Mons, its systems fully activated by Kate and Carter. It broadcast a signal that reached across the solar system, awakening other hidden facilities on moons, asteroids, and deep space locations. In Earth orbit, Professor Hayes watched as dormant satellites that had been mistaken for space junk suddenly powered up, forming a protective grid around the planet. On the council station, Allison received urgent messages from all these locations. Humanity's ancient defense network was coming back online, piece by piece. "We need to show the council the truth," she told Genta. "Not just a few representatives, but all of them." They made their way to the main council chamber, fighting past Valdari guards with weapons provided by the Trellin and Vox. When they burst into the chamber, the Valdari representative was addressing the other council members, painting humanity as a dangerous, unstable species that needed to be contained. Lies, shouted Allison, striding into the center of the room. The Valdari aren't protecting the galaxy from us. They're protecting themselves from the truth. Using the data collected from all the ancient sites, Allison showed the Council irrefutable evidence. Genetic markers in all Council species showing human influence. Architectural similarities in the oldest structures across Council worlds. Linguistic roots tracing back to ancient Earth languages. Humanity wasn't born yesterday, Allison declared. We were the first. We helped many of you evolve, taught you to reach for the stars, and founded this very council. When the Valdari betrayed that trust, we chose to forget ourselves rather than pursue endless revenge. The chamber fell silent as the truth settled over the gathered representatives. Even the Valdari could not deny the evidence. Outside the station, the Valdari fleet suddenly found itself surrounded by ships from all the other council species who had been monitoring the revelations. The Valdari attack faltered and finally stopped. In the days that followed, humanity began to truly remember its ancient heritage. The hidden technology was recovered, the old knowledge restored. Earth took its rightful place not as a newcomer to the galactic stage, but as one of its original architects. In the Valdari, they were not destroyed or banished, despite their deception. Following the example of their ancient ancestors, humanity chose mercy over vengeance. The cycle would not begin again. As Allison stood on the observation deck of the council station, looking out at the stars that had once been humanity's home, she felt the weight of both the past and the future. We were the first, she said softly. And now we're back. Let's get it right this time.